So welcome to our second live, Facebook Live, and our second showing of Facebook Live. I'm Kim Brown-Sims, and
hello, Kevin Bowen.
And we got this great big, beautiful microphone. So Kevin can actually be heard this time.
Yeah, that was disappointing last time.
It was really disappointing last time.
Do you want to introduce our guest?
I do want to introduce our guest. So we're so excited because we have a special guest today. And her name is Tyesia Hunter. So Tyesia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Kim and Kevin. Yes, I'm Tyesia Hunter. I'm actually an associate. I like to say that I'm like a mentee of Kim's. Kim is an advisor on the board that we put together at North American Medical Partners that I am the CEO of. And I'm just very delighted to be on this panel to have this conversation with you all. And I'm looking forward to it. But I am a Bay Area native, Oakland, raised in Oakland, California. Local kid all the way through from high school, even to college, UC Berkeley, and then Holy Names University in Oakland. And so I've been here, and I'm just ready for this conversation. This is a much needed one, and I'm looking forward to it. Yes.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. Tyesia, are you hearing the repeat back in the Zoom meeting as well?
No, I'm not.
Okay, that's good to know because Kevin and I are hearing everything in delay. So it's a little bit distracting.
Distracting, yeah.
So wow. I wonder what we should do, because if we don't have this in, we can't hear Tyesia.
Wow.
You're right. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're stuck this week.
Does that mean that you possibly have to, I would say, mute Facebook so you don't get a reverb, possibly? If you have, not that you mute your mic, but that you mute the actual live recording, and that might take care of the reverb.
Let me try possibly. That. Okay, so.
Will there definitely be a delay between?
Do you still hear the reverb?
So, ladies and gentlemen, forgive us as we figure out our technical difficulties.
I don't know where to put that setting. Okay, Tyesia, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can.
I think that did the trick, Kevin.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, we have the capabilities to figure it out, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Good job.
Thank you very much. So Tyesia, oh, we're not supposed to touch. Where's my hand sanitizer? Jeez.
We're not 6 feet apart this week either.
Almost, but we're outside. And so again, we just want to say thanks. I'm going to put the Zoom meeting back up because now I can't see. Here we go. All right. Thank you for your patience as we get started with our second live show. And thanks, Tyesia, for introducing yourself. Super excited to have Tyesia on today. I'm so privileged to be able to work with her as part of her board of directors, advisory board of directors, and she's going to be doing some really amazing things with her company moving forward. So let me just talk a little bit about what this show is all about. The show is called Pricks. Kevin loves it. I love it, right? It's a little bit edgy. It's a little odd. People say to me, you know, I've heard people say, well, do you hate men? And obviously I do not. You know, I have lots of male friends, and, you know, life is good. My dad was my biggest fan, and I love him to death. I have 3 brothers, and Yeah, no, I don't hate men. So we'll just put that to rest. I'm a nurse, and us nurses have pricked a lot of people. Started tons of IVs. I've drawn blood. You know, I've given shots. Those are some pretty big pricks too. And in addition to that, you know, I've had some life events, as have we all. And each of those life events that didn't quite turn out the way we anticipated or were prepared for are pricks too. And then there's another prick, and that's that prick of knowing. It's the prick of knowing. That little voice inside of us that talks with us, but the reality is we don't always listen. And that's another prick.
Yes.
So that's the whole premise of the show, really, is to talk about those things that prick us in life. And the key is, what do we do with those things? Do those things motivate us? Do they demotivate us? Do they take us on a downward spiral? Or do we take them and use that information so that we can create something beautiful on the other end?
Nice.
Yeah.
Well said.
Tyesia, do you want to jump in on the conversation?
Yes, yes, indeed. I love the concept of being pricked, because being pricked can be so valuable if people embrace adversity, and if it comes into the form of adversity. Most of the time it is. So to understand that it's actually a learning experience that's going to make you better. So don't run from the prick, or don't run away from being pricked. Don't shy away from being pricked, but understand it, accept it, and grow from it. So
That
I love
was
the concept.
beautifully said. That was absolutely beautifully said. I mean, it kind of goes along the same line as failure, the word failure. And the reason I bring those two up synonymously is because Henry Ford defined failure as an opportunity to begin again more intelligently. So failure for me doesn't even exist in my vocabulary. That outcome, whatever it was, really wasn't what I anticipated, wasn't what I planned for, you know, wasn't what I wanted, but I certainly learned a lot along the way. And so therefore, I'm going to take that information and apply it to the next time that I take this journey, or the next time I start something like whatever it was that I did before.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, the key is also, you know, understanding yourself, and when things like this are happening to you, how it's hitting you, two, what that means, what it brings up for you, and then three, what you're going to do with it,
Yeah.
you know, in the moment,
Right.
and then beyond.
I really love that. I'm playing moderator here today, so just really quickly, we do have a couple of notes from the beautiful, talented, and super cool Karen A. Clark. Hello, sis.
Aww.
Two messages. Hey, Kevin, your sister is here, and hey, Kim Branson.
Hey. Can she hear us well?
I'll ask her.
Ask her,
You just
because
asked her.
last time it was a little challenging to hear you because you have such a sweet, melodious, soft voice. I'm turning up the volume right now.
So the conversation that we originally started was about this title, Overcoming Pricks, which has been transitioning. And I think for me, the point is, where does it take you? What happens next in your life? How does that prick affect you? I don't think that the word. I think the word is powerful, and I think it gets noticed. And I think that's why it's important in this concept that you're developing. And I like what you said about the metamorphosis from overcoming pricks to pricked.
Mm-hmm.
But I still really like, and sorry, you didn't hear our conversation earlier, but the idea was how to posit it in a more positive.
Yes.
Make it a more positive concept. Where I think overcoming pricks does have a little bit of a negative connotation, but the idea is, where do you go next? Overcome it. I love that word. So do you want to launch into how that?
Yeah, let's have a little dialogue about that. So last year when I started really thinking about writing a book, and then, you know, really what that book would contain, and then I started thinking about the fact that we have all of us in our life at some point or another had something that's pricked us, that really, if you come from a place of resilience, perseverance, being motivated, and seeing a solution, right, having a solution mindset, then you're overcoming those pricks. You're taking that as fuel for your fire, and you're moving forward. And, you know, I'll be a little tongue-in-cheek here too and say, you know, if it was a person that was a prick and you overcome it and move forward, then guess what? You get to go, right? Just a little bit, which we all want to be more mature than that. But like, let's be honest, on a human level, we're all saying, I overcame, I persevered. Look at me now, right?
Absolutely.
So I really loved that concept of overcoming pricks. And when I started working with my team at Thought Leadership Path, you know, they were saying to have a really strong presence, and overcoming pricks is not as strong as just the word pricks, but then pricks has that negative space. And I'm a positive person. I mean, in high school, I was voted most optimistic. And I kind of see myself still in that same vein. Like, I see a solution in everything that happens. I find the silver lining. Let's figure out how we take what we've learned from that pain, that discomfort, that prick, and apply it to moving forward. And I said that to the team. And then they said to me, well, what about pricked? Because pricked is an action verb. It's a verb, right? It means that you've taken action from it. It happened, and now you're taking action from it, and you're moving it forward. So then what comes from being pricked is really what you want to put out into the world. The fact that there are actions that come from being pricked, positive or negative, our focus is going to be on how you apply that overcoming in a positive way. I know, and it takes you right back to your original point.
It does. Tyesia, I want you to jump in here because Kim said something interesting just then. I really need to take notes next time.
I have a notepad if you want.
She implied that there's an aspect of background to this personality. How you approach that even prior to the prick happening.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's all relative to, because sometimes you have to overcome a prick who's going to prick you.
Yes.
You know?
Good point.
Yeah. So I think they're kind of interconnected, you know, and when it comes to, like, you have to have a personality type to be able to withstand being pricked or even overcoming a prick, you know, because really, if people just change their perspective on what it all means, just understand that they're pushing you to your brink. It is an absolute test of your resolve.
Tyesia, I love that. I love that. And here's why. Mm-hmm. So what if we start having this conversation on a regular basis, and from these conversations, we come up with tactics for people to employ for how they can overcome their pricks or having been pricked, right? Then we start to create a movement around being able to help people have that mindset that we're talking about is needed in these situations. How does that feel?
I mean, that's spot on. Because what it's going to force people to do is to do self-inventory check. That's I love to use that term, self-inventory check. Because,
I need to write that down.
Yeah, because in that process, you're going to see who you really are. when it comes down to the get down.
I love it. When it comes down to the get down,
Right.
you will know who you are. And it's true. So, I look at myself as this, strong, empowered, person. Female,
You can say woman. You can say woman. Yeah.
I am this
Absolutely.
strong, empowered woman. I've been this way my whole life. Kevin, you've known me since I was 8 years old. Have I always been Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I'm not apologetic about who I am and what I'm about. I have to say, though, I have been pricked and it stopped me in my tracks. I haven't always known right in that moment how to respond. And a big part of it is that I generally come from a place of gratitude and wanting to care for other people. My intention isn't ever I want to hurt you. But there are people out there who really do want to hurt you. And so when that's happened to me, it surprises me. And when I'm taken aback like that, I kind of go into that, what they call, your prehistoric brain, right? Your limbic system is fight, flight, or paralyze. And I will frequently go into that paralyzed because I'm like, this is not happening. Is somebody really being this mean to me? You know what I mean? And so I think that if we can help people, one, do that self-inventory and understand what's hitting them and why it's hitting them. So like for me, my focus is, when people are mean to me, what do I do with that? How do I recognize it right away? And then two, how do I say, hey, you know what? That's not okay. We might not agree on a certain topic, but we can certainly discuss it without you being mean.
Yeah.
Right? And it takes a level of awareness and a level of awareness about what's hitting us, how it's hitting us, and how to respond in the moment that leads you to conversation or being in a proactive mindset from that point forward.
Yeah. And this really is all about conversation, starting a dialogue, allowing people to share, which is what we ended our conversation with last week, was encouraging you all to get involved, to share your pricks in life, so that we can have this dialogue and I guess come together as a people. It's all about information, understanding each other's backgrounds, to figure out how we can coexist. I mean,
yeah, it's an awareness community that we're starting here, and what we started talking just a little bit earlier when you first arrived before we went live about, what problem is it that we're trying to solve here? And the problem that is existing now and has been for the longest time is that there is a lack of awareness of the social construct and systemic racism. And systemic racism plays in on so many levels because it's not just about different races. It's about sexual orientation. It's about gender. It's systemic racism. I know there's a term, and I'm sure Coco would be able to tell us what it is, but it's about creating awareness so that we can start putting solutions to the issues that are being brought forward. And for me, it's about creating these listening forums, facilitating, having people understand that there is a time and a place, and now more than ever, a need to have these listening forums where these questions are being asked and people talk so that we can understand what are the true issues and what can we do in small groups to move us in the right direction, because it's those grassroots, small, tests of change that really do end up getting the result we want.
Hey, Jeannie Bedard, how are you? It's my cousin.
You've got the whole fam happening today. I love that.
Tyesia, jump in. What do you got?
I think it's really these conversations need to be had, because if you want to talk about progression and having real change inside of a construct that has been in place for so long, how do you break it down without destroying it per se. Because I don't believe, I mean, I think you can, like, in a real estate term, you can rehab some things, you know, and you can take down some walls. So there's transparency and you know, and build something beautiful. So, but when it comes to, I just lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens.
You know, it happens all the time. And let me tell you what, the older we get, the more it happens. And I'm pointing at Kevin too, because I've seen it.
Oh, that was terrible. Oh man. But no,
No, but I hear.
Go ahead. Say it again.
I was
so
going
I
to
can
say.
catch it up.
I was going to say, I hear what you're saying, right? The reality is that in order for us to move forward, you have to have incremental change, incremental energy in a certain targeted direction, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
happen overnight.
Right.
It's little things everywhere.
Right. And that conversation, starting this conversation is one. And as long as we, as a people, we understand, you're not going to be able to, excuse me, sorry about that. You're not going to be fundamentally be able to change people. We can't get caught in an illusion of what you want it to be. Okay.
Right.
There's going to be certain levels of change that you're not going to be able to have an effect on people. But if there is a level of relatability, just a smidge, then that's where that progress can actually begin. Because let me tell you, coming from a sports background, I had teammates who did not like me, period, who did not like me and actually did things to sabotage and what have you not. But we were able to move in unison strictly because we had a level of relatability of why we were there, why we were together, why we, you know, were in this group together. And that was to win.
You mean you connected over a common cause? What?
Yeah, right.
What?
Right. Exactly. Oh, absolutely.
I absolutely love it. Tyesia, tell us your story of being pricked. I know you have one because I said, be sure you have a story to share with us.
Right. Oh man, where do I begin? I got so many.
And that's the point.
What?
I know.
I do. I have so many I can't even, you know, count them all, but it did shape and molded me. I would have one that was recent. And it came from a guy that I hang around with in a virtual setting where my friends and I have conversations, and someone that I've been around for years. And because of how I think, they took a dislike to my perspective on financing and entrepreneurship when it comes to Nubian people. I use the word Nubian instead of African American. Wow, I really don't understand why my phone is ringing off the hook. That's weird. I don't.
It's because you're so popular. Look, all of a sudden, you are the woman of the hour.
Right. But and he took a offense to level of rugged individualism when it comes to entrepreneurship. And so he would constantly make these comments that I knew were slights at me. And one day he just came out and said, well, if you're going to do this and you're going to be successful, why hasn't it happened already? Like, why haven't you blown up yet? You know? And I said, wow. I said, well, there it is. Now tell me how you really feel.
Right.
And so but I took that and I said, okay, I see you now. Now I completely see you. And I'm going to take that energy that you're throwing my way, because you're throwing it at me. I'm going to take that energy. I'm going to absorb that energy and use it as rocket fuel, this added rocket fuel to the direction that I'm already going. And it is like you said in the beginning, when you get a little bit of aha, that's normal, but you use that negativity and turn it into your positive fuel. So that level of being pricked, it allowed me to really stayed laser beam focused on the task at hand. It really did. And I love it. I love naysayers. I love people who say you can't do it. I love it all, and I've been tested on that so many levels. I can think since I was about 14 years old, and and it's okay because you have to know how to transmute energy that people throw at you that they mean to do harm or cause, mental strife or anything like that. Understand that you have the power, the internal power to transmute that energy that they're giving you and use it as rocket fuel to really take off and to launch yourself into a stratosphere that you really want to go.
Oh my gosh, I think you've been inside my head because I have used pretty much all of those words at one time or another, and that's you said a couple of things that just so resonate with me. One is the aha, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people are acting in a way where they're intending to harm you, it is a lot of information that they're giving you in that moment. Yeah. For one thing, they're telling you that what's happening in that moment is more about them and their insecurities than it is about you and what you're doing. As a matter of fact, what you're doing is intimidating them. 9 times out of 10, that is the situation that's happening. And I know that as humans, we sit back and say, you know what, what's wrong with me, right? What have I done wrong to bring this? I mean, especially women. Women do that all the time. And we can talk about that difference between man and woman. Kevin, I would love to get your perspective on that. But the reality is when that energy is coming at you, one, recognize you're telling me a lot about you. What's happening with you is that, there's a lot of insecurity happening. I am somehow intimidating you. And can't we find that common ground? Can't we say we're both in this together? And or if you can't, because there are some people who just will not come around. They're just stuck on their space. They're stuck on, I'm going to dig at you because it makes them feel bigger. Okay, good for you. But in the meantime, as you just said, Tyesia, you're going to take that information and use it to fuel your propulsion into the stratosphere. I absolutely love that.
I think that because you asked, you probably, and Tyesia, you as well, probably get that dominance is such a hard word, but it's, I guess that's really what it is.
It is male dominance.
More than I do, at least this age, as an African American male. I'm certainly not unaware of it, and have certainly been affected by it. But I guarantee you felt it more. So I guess I would just ask the question. This conversation, Overcoming Pricks, and again, I'm more.
You're a proponent for the Overcoming Pricks, and I'm down with that.
That's my title.
Yes.
Yeah. Is so apropos in this in this situation, because they're acting like pricks.
Mm-hmm.
So speak to that, especially Tyesia. I want to get more into your background. I know Kim's more in healthcare.
Yes.
That is, well, most industries are male dominated, but that is truly a male dominated. And you've talked about the glass ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So talk into that a little.
Oh, well, so, healthcare is a female dominated industry. The majority of nurses are female, but in leadership, females represent 6% at the last time I looked, and I know it's growing. 6% of CEOs of hospitals, 6%, and yet we're somewhere 70-80% of the workforce. That is a huge disparity, and one that has kind of dug at me for a really long time. It's again being given the opportunity to show that what you've worked so hard for through the years, the fact that you have the degrees, the fact that you have the certifications, the fact that you have the proven successes, and then watching a male be promoted into a spot because they went through a program and a fellowship. And so that makes them prepared to lead a hospital and a workforce to care for patients. That happens all the time. It happens all the time. Women have to do, and you've heard this and you've seen this, they have to work twice as hard and they have to wait twice as long and they have to, why? Why? I mean, if you look at the statistics regarding men applying for jobs and women applying for jobs, women will wait until they meet 75% of the criteria, closer to 80% of the criteria to apply for a job, where a man will apply for a job if they meet 33% of the criteria.
Wow.
And why is that? Why is that?
Yeah.
I can speak to that. I think I know that it is a mentality, and it comes from saying, I don't care if I'm not 100% or 90% qualified. I'm going to go for it.
Right.
And I think that's the mentality shift that us as women have to take on. Right now,
we have to take it on. We have to take it on, and we have to be given the opportunity to actually receive that job offer.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the hurdle we have to overcome. Because again, how come the letters and degrees and certifications and licensure after my name have to be 5 times as long as my name in order for me to be considered for the same thing that a man has a degree in? I don't get that.
Right.
Well, I mean, I do, but I don't like it, and I want it to change.
That's what this is about. This is creating a. I'm not going to use that word. This is a movement. It's creating a movement. Again, small grassroots and
incremental change. Yeah.
Incremental change to shift the mindset of a global economy.
Yes. So, the other piece that ties into this is really shifting the paradigm in a lot of different areas, but the paradigm of hierarchical top-down fear to one of elevating the voice of the masses. Because you have the few at the top who dictate a lot. And they are they're typically the privileged, right? Those who have had the obstacles removed for them, or have just historically had doors open for them. And they will continue to perpetuate the fear and the dominance aspect if we as a people, if we as the masses don't start coming together with our voice and moving us towards change. It's actually the way that I lead, and it's actually a program. I'm a consultant, and it's actually one of the programs that I implement within hospitals, and it's called operationalizing engagement. And basically it just means that every single day you get in front of the people who do the work and you ask them, how can we do the work that we do well better? And how can we do things that are going to be more meaningful to you in how you do your work? Yeah. Ask the question. Let's hear the answers, because I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. And I'm certainly not as smart as a table of diverse individuals who all have the opportunity to share and create on an equal playing ground.
Yeah. The round table was powerful. To know that you're literally at a round table and not just someone sitting at the head of the table.
Yeah,
that's right.
Is powerful, and it gives people the safe space sitting at a round table that you can really engage. And they're not being dictated to, as you said, from the top down.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I had a prick one time where I came in, and I am used to just my mentality, and my leadership mentality is we're all equal. Like, I want to hear what you have to say, and let's put together a strategy that we pretty much all agree, because there will be the, 1 or 2 people who are like, no, I can't really buy into that, but here's the piece of it that I can support, right? But I walked into a room one time and sat down in a chair that was at the head of the table. I didn't even think twice about it, and I got pulled out of the room and had a talking to, because I sat at the head of the table and it was not my place.
Wow.
Have you ever had something like that happen, Kevin?
I don't think so. I'd have to really think back. But that's really surprising.
Yeah, that happened
Yeah.
pretty commonly, stuff like that.
Wow.
You know, I mean, you learn every time something like that happens. Okay, well, I certainly won't sit at the head of the table
Yeah.
again. You know, and actually, even as a leader in an executive role, I rarely sat at the head of the table. I tried to find a spot, you know, that was on the side or for a round table. I like the round table. That's a thing we all can employ, is putting round tables in offices instead of rectangular square tables.
So you have your hands in pocket situation.
Hands in pockets. So explain that again. Talk about that.
Oh man, were we on last time?
We were on last time about on that topic. Yeah.
So I was sharing last week that when I shop frequently, especially in small shops or high-end shops, I'll keep my hands in my pocket because I had a prick when I was very young and was accused of shoplifting, and I did not. It just happened to have something in my pocket that the store also sold. Long story. I'm not going to go into it, but to this day, I mean, I was 11, 12, something like that when that happened. But to this day, that has affected me. That's a prick that has affected me for 40 some odd years. And I was sharing earlier that it just, now I'm aware of it. I've talked about it now for a couple of weeks. I was actually in a store today and did it again. And it's strange. And I know there are a lot of you out there who've had a similar situation, particularly if you're of a certain skin tone. So we all have these moments that define us and shape us and color our worldview. And that's just one that I've had with me for so long that I didn't even recognize until I vocalized it a couple of weeks ago. So yeah,
that it still sticks with you. Talk about that in the construct of unconscious bias.
Yeah. So
right?
Yeah, it really is. So conscious or unconscious, I have to think about, from their perspective. Oh, look, reading comments.
Good.
This is an interactive, by the way. So
we love comments, and we want to hear your opinion. 1, about the name. 2, about the topics.
Yeah.
3, what we can do with this movement to make a difference. Because the point is not, yes, we want to talk, yes, we want to create awareness, but we want to create something positive from these conversations. So back to conscious or unconscious bias.
Yeah, so I think that there is definitely an unconscious bias. So we're in Napa Valley. It's historically been one of the last vestiges of the Ku Klux Klan. When I came here 30 years ago, it was definitely still a racially charged environment. I was not always welcome. So as I say that, unconscious or conscious bias, I've seen both over the last 30 years. So when I shop, I'm cognizant of the fact that there are possibly people who are uncomfortable with my presence. Man, this is hard to say.
Isn't it? You're making yourself vulnerable, right? You're putting yourself out there, but you're not saying anything that other people haven't experienced.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, that's the point. And we've talked about Brene Brown, and I don't mean to get stray too far from the point, but her ability and her ability to be uncomfortable and to talk about uncomfortable topics has affected both of us. It's why, certainly one of the reasons I can say this, on Facebook Live right now, because I get what she's trying to do, and I understand what you're trying to do with this movement. We need to have the conversations to move forward as a people. I truly believe that we globally are a people. So that's why I'm really interested in this, the way that you're approaching this topic. Just another, I'm sorry, I was about to say just another voice, but another needed voice in this quest for a better world.
A better world. It's got to be a better world, and it's got to be a more equal world. It's got to be a more equal world. What are the comments there? And I don't know if you can hear my dog barking in the background, but clearly somebody has arrived at the house, so it's a it's a welcoming party.
Karen A. Clark has a couple of comments.
Oh, come on, Karen A. Clark.
First, she was talking specifically about what you were saying about, I believe, sitting at the head of the table.
Mm-hmm.
She says, that's not surprising to me, Kim. There is a protocol in corporate America. She also comments, I sit next to the CEO in a certain meeting that takes place twice a year. A new person joined and tried to take my seat. He just didn't know. I politely told him that is my seat. As one of two females and the only person of color in that particular meeting, my physical position is significant in regards to the room dynamics. I need the advantage.
So, Karen, I love that, because can we envision a world where it doesn't matter where you sit at the table, but each and every one of us have a voice and an equal voice? That voice is heard and valued. That's the world I want to live in, or at least work toward in my lifetime. But you are absolutely right, Karen, because if you are a female at the executive table, first of all, you're not frequently given a voice. When you are allowed to speak, and I'll say that tongue-in-cheek, but not really, when you are allowed to speak, frequently poo-pooed, and frequently someone else will repeat what you have said as if it is their own idea.
Yeah. Tyesia, we're waiting for you.
I know, Tyesia, chime in.
Yeah. Well, I don't have that's a lot. I don't have a lot of experience on the corporate side, and only in this regard is that, as Kim knows, I'm a CEO of a company that will buy a company, and therefore I will be, the CEO, and I will be giving so-called a directive. But I just wanted to say this. If you want the change, you have to be the change agent. And so what I mean when I say that, that means that you, women, people of color, you have to want to be the CEO. You have to want to be the boss. And I mean, because to me, that's the level of activism or activity that has to go in there to be that change agent. So this is why I always implore people that I interact with is shoot for the top. Do not be afraid to shoot for the top. As Kim will tell you, I'm stepping into a healthcare space where I have no previous background in at all. And so what I do is become a student and learn. But when I go in and I speak to whomever are sitting in these positions of so-called, importance or anything that I have to sit down and talk with, you speak from a position of strength, and and when you do that, and when you get to where you want to be, and you can implement all that change that you want, and then you will become that trendsetter. You will become the new norm, the new standard, and and I just want to really implore that and press upon people. If you want that change, you have to be it.
Have to be it is absolutely right. Is there something you're gonna?
Yep.
You
Karen,
look like you're ready.
Karen A. Clark is jumping in again.
We're gonna have to have her on the show.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Jumping on what you said about stealing the idea. Yep. And sometimes they wait a year to say what you said and implement your idea, thinking you and everyone else will forget it's your idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've talked with women about when that same thing happens. And one of the tactics to employ when the statement when it's restated, when your idea is restated at the table, to look at that person and say, thank you for validating my idea, and move forward with the tactic on how you're going to implement it. Because it happens over and over and over again. And the reality is people will look at you and go, oh, give you the snarl and the look and, oh my God, what a, name calling, insert word here.
Yeah.
When the reality is, if the man says it, they're going to be like, great idea. All right, that's phenomenal. Let's move it forward. We have to change that. We have to change that. And, to Tyesia's point as well about, you absolutely have to be the change. And when you as a female or a minority or, anybody who hasn't had privilege growing up, starts to strive for the top, when they finally reach the top, you do have a choice. You have a choice to be the change, or you have a choice to be a bully and to smack everybody else down because you had to work so hard and nobody is going to nip at your heels and take from you what you've worked so hard for, which is, to me, not the right perspective to have. I have been pricked. The worst prick that I ever had in my life was another woman who scraped her way to the top, and it didn't matter what I did or any other woman did. She was going to knock them down until we were all clear that she had control, that she was all that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Worst situation I had ever encountered. And I thought, wow, coming from a woman, and it, again, it's what do you do with it? It teaches you that this is the thing. When you encounter a horrible situation, if you learn nothing else from it, you learn to not be that person. So, lesson one in the entire movement, in the entire pricked movement, is don't be a prick.
Yeah.
That's right.
Karen has a lot to say. We definitely need to have her
Yeah,
on.
we're going to have her on.
Karen A. Says, let's see, I believe this is to one of Tyesia's comments. If able to be a CEO, do it. But all players on the chessboard are important if we play the game properly. So
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we are not even in the game. She goes on to say everyone is an influencer and most don't realize their power, CEO or not. Oh, this is about, not sure what she's referring to. Ooh, I love that.
Ooh.
And she also says, I'm going to do it. Thanks for implementing my idea. Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
My comment. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for validating my idea. And here's how we're going to do this. Yeah. It's also, I think, that idea of we are all leaders every day in our words and actions.
Yes.
So there's a Latin phrase called acta non verba, which is actions, not words. And what that means is we have to act like we're the CEO of our company.
Yes.
We have to act like we're all equal. We have to act like nobody is any better than anybody else. We have to act like it's important to take care of your fellow man. And we all have that power. Each and every one of us. It matters not about your pedigree, your education, your family history. None of that matters. It's who you are in this moment and what you're going to do with the energy that you have.
That's right. Absolutely. Just to add to that too, and the way that happens is really having a true a team concept. But before I go into that point, is out when you were speaking about the lady who became the prick once she got there, and that's just that just reminded me of a classic case of she chose to conform to the norm instead of having courage. It's either conformity or courage.
Where's my book?
Right.
Chose to conform than having courage. Okay, Tyesia, I'm stealing that. It's going to be an Instagram post this week.
Indeed. Go ahead. Absolutely. But, and that's what it comes down to, is they have to have the courage to, once you aspire to do whatever it is you want to do, or be where you finally get to where you saw yourself, and still have the courage to do what it is you set out to do, and do not conform. It's easy to conform. It's the most easiest thing to do.
So it's funny that you say that, because this team that I'm working with, and I keep giving them a shout out because they're just amazing individuals, Kent Gustafson and Randy Baker from Thought Leadership Path, they frequently say that I use a lot of corporate speak when I talk. And I frequently reply, that's because I've had to fit into the vanilla box in order to move up the ladder all these years. But the reality is that then, am I truly being authentic to who I am? I think we've had this conversation. And if I'm not, then I'm really not leading with courage, Tyesia, right? Because I'm conforming instead of saying, you know what? I hear what you're saying and I don't agree with that. But it's trying to get to that place of, it's trying to get to that place of power and influence, or perceived power and influence, in order to affect change, when the reality is you don't have to get to that level to affect change. You can affect change every single day from where you are.
Absolutely.
So this ties back into the impetus of this whole conversation.
Yeah.
When Kim told me that her advisors were telling her that Overcoming Pricks was not going to be a good title for this book and this project. And she was talking about her target audience, and my contention was, and still is, that the people who would be offended by that title are not our target audience. So why try to continue being in that corporate box, in that vanilla box, if that's not the box you want to be?
Right. Because even before, so this is only the second show, but even before the first show, my fear, right? So we work from a place of fear. We don't typically achieve much.
Yeah.
Well-behaved women rarely change history. It's been given to Eleanor Roosevelt. It's been given to Margaret Thatcher. I'm sure somebody said it, but it's absolutely true. If you are afraid to be who you authentically are, then you're living a life of lies. And not only are you living a life of lies, but you will never realize your full potential. And so if I'm coming into this conversation being afraid that it's going to close some doors for me, then those are doors that I never should have been knocking on to start with.
Absolutely.
And I only did it because of the conformity issue, or the desire to conform, because that perceived power was going to allow me to have an influence, when right now I'm sitting in my backyard with my childhood friend of 40 plus years, and we're making a difference by bringing awareness to the conversation.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Karen A., the title originally was Overcoming Pricks.
Morph to
Pricks. And now we're playing with
Pricked. What's your opinion? I would love to know. I would love everybody in the audience to really, take the time to put in the comments what resonates with them, because the whole idea is that we all encounter situations that are painful. Persons, physical, mental, emotional, we all encounter those pricks, and it's what we do with it. It's how we take that energy in and how we put that energy back out in a positive way. So I'm really, really curious as to what resonates with people. And again, what's going to give it a positive spin, because I really am about positivity. I'm about, let's take this and use it, as Tyesia said, as a fuel for that propulsion into the stratosphere.
With that being said, that I like Overcoming Pricks just because of that reason.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And anyone who's going to be offended by that is the prick.
Thank you.
They are.
I love it.
Because the notion of overcoming the prick, everybody has experienced that some way or another.
Yep.
One way or another, they have. They come against that bully. They come against that, dare I say, jackass. We all have done it. So that title and that concept is one of the most relatable things out there.
Thank you.
That's just my 2 cents.
Relatable.
That's my 2 cents, Kim. I couldn't hold back. I couldn't hold back. That's my 2 cents.
I love it, Tyesia. I absolutely love it. And honestly, I have to say, you're not the only person who has that, that same sentiment. I mean, Kevin, but other friends of mine as well. Every time I talk about Overcoming Pricks, because I've been talking about it for a year, afraid to put it out into the world. See, what's that tell you right there? I'm finally finding my courage. But every time I talk about it, people resonate with it. They come to me, they talk about it. When is this book coming out? I want to read this book, because we've all been in those situations. And again, it's just giving voice to those who haven't had a seat at the table. And once they've had a seat at the table, haven't been called upon. And once their voice is once they actually speak, their voice isn't always heard and rarely valued. And we got to change it. We've just got to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, can you guys believe that we've been at it for an hour?
Oh my gosh.
I know. See how fun this is?
That's probably the fastest hour ever.
And especially right now, right? Right now, while we are in, this COVID world where we're not connecting. And I'm so grateful that, Kevin puts his life on the line. And like we mentioned the last time, we are sitting about 6 feet apart. I think we're a little closer this time because we wanted to be in the view. I think Kevin could scoot over, but that's all right. But we're outside. Yeah, I like being close to him too. We are outside with the fresh air. I bleached everything down yet again before Kevin came. And when he leaves the house, he's masked up. He's got his mask right on the table. It's really important that we care for ourselves and one another by wearing our masks. It's about humankind, because there has been a lot of death related to this pandemic, a lot. And the only way we're going to overcome this prick is to come together as a people and to care for each other. And a very minimal way you can do that is to wear your mask and to social distance. So I think with that, I'm going to say thank you so much, Tyesia, for being a part of this great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure and an honor. And I look forward to the next one. Kevin, thank you so much, Kim.
Absolutely.
We'll
awesome. Have you.
I just want to can I just say this before I get up? Hold on.
Yeah.
Kim, anybody who has the opportunity to, even my son's getting tired, so I know it's time. Okay. Anybody who has an opportunity to work with Kim, do so. You will not regret it whatsoever. Every time I get the opportunity, I talk Kim up because she took a chance, and she took a chance on someone like me. And it's greatly, greatly appreciated. She has so much insight, and she gives you that energy, that good energy that you need to go ahead and do what you set out to do. So I just wanted to let that be known. If anybody has an opportunity or a chance to work with Kim, jump at it. You won't regret it.
Tyesia, I thank you so much. You don't know how much that means to me. And thank you very, very much. And I am just looking forward to being on this journey with you, and I'm watching your success unfold, because it is most definitely going to do that. So check out North American Medical Partners online and look at the great work that Tyesia and her team are doing. Kevin, as always, I adore spending time with you. One of my dearest friends. Oh my gosh, unbelievable. And I think we should do it again. What do you think?
Okay.
How about next week?
I can do next week.
All right, let's think about another guest. And all of you out there, if you want to be a part of this conversation, just drop some comments in the comment box for us. We are happy to have you come and have some dialogue about what pricks you've encountered in your life and what we're going to do with that energy, what you did with it to come out successfully, or what you need to do with it. Maybe you need to ask some questions, and we've got a bunch of people in the world who are here to have your back and support you through working through whatever that prick is. So don't hesitate to reach out there as well. And I'm working on getting us the phone number so people can call in and ask questions.
I mean,
put Kevin on the line even more. So with that, Kevin, any final words?
No. Everyone, be safe out there. Be kind to your neighbor. I'm actually going to steal a comedian's line. I love this guy, Brian Copeland. I'm giving you credit. Be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Okay, be safe, be well, and until next time, we'll talk to you then.
Bye.
Bye.